DJ Moore essentially for the past 2 years has been big slot. There's not really the big slot Ben Johnson style, is that he's more the Amon-Ra St. Brown, the big guy outside. DJ Moore at this point was neither. He was miscast, and he actually spent more time in the slot down the stretch. And if you look at Joe Brady and Carmichael and what they do, this is a Sean Payton tree offense. What do they feature? They feature the big slot. Do I think he's going to get 160 targets like Stephon Diggs 3 years ago? Absolutely not.
More.
But if he gets 120, yeah, look, Khalil Shakir had 100. So he gets 120 in that role in this offense. He's a top 20 wide receiver. He finished wide receiver 15 with Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields throwing in the ball. You're telling me Josh Allen can't mix him into this system?
Jake is 2023 stats.
Well, I mean,
Man,
I was told from
2025
stats, Ian, I was told that Justin Fields by you is better than Josh Allen. So that's probably how it works out.
We're not even talking about quarterbacks now, and Justin Fields is still being thrown against me. You know what? I deserve it.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog. The time has finally come. I have released my top 200 fantasy football rankings for half-point PPR for the season-long 2026 fantasy football season. And I've invited the crew to come back on and rip them apart. Maybe I'll have to adjust them on the fly. Who knows? You can find the entire list down in the show notes. It'll be a link to the Mayo Media newsletter. It's always free to subscribe to. It's free to look at if you want to go do that. Plus, everything will be up on 4for4.com as well. You use code Mayo at 4for4.com. Season-long fantasy package, DFS package, betting package, regardless of the package. Code Mayo, get you 25% off. Highly recommend that you do it, especially if you're someone who enjoys customizing projections to fit what you think. Ian Hartitz is here. Jake Ciely is back from 8 weeks of vacation. Fellas, what is going on?
Had to get that Maine lobster. That was disappointing compared to yours. It was nice, though. Look, we got together like the old days. Mayo, me, Meanie, and all the crew that used to help you put your stuff together for the old times.
You left early. You left before I did.
I mean, we left like, 10:30, 11 o'clock? I didn't know that the party was only getting started at 11 o'clock.
In fairness, Ian, I had to leave too. I was like, yeah, I'm so tired. I need to go lay down. Too much golf.
Hey, man, nothing wrong with that. I'm just tired of you guys ripping apart my rankings 17 weeks a year, but now I actually get to be, the guy doing on that side. So feeling good there. Feeling good after I took down my flex league. Why even do the league at this point, Jake? Just give me the belt now, man.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it. Can I circle back to one thing? The reason you were tired, Pat, is because you were stealing my wine glasses and everybody else's wine glasses.
Free wine. Listen, it was cash bar. They were giving away wine. Well, you weren't drinking the wine. I wasn't letting it go to waste.
I know. The best two things, Ian. I come back from the bathroom and Nicole's like, Pat ordered your wine so he could take it because I don't drink. And then later on, Pat was like, can I get another refill? They were like, 2 only. And he's like, Bud, you can find another one.
And just like, did they find another one?
They did.
Sometimes you just got to ask. Sometimes they'll come and bring it to you. It was great. So shout out to Chris Meany, former guest of the show and future guest of the show as well. Congrats on his nuptials. We were there, but now we're here to talk about football. Number 1 in the rankings, Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 2, Bijan Robinson. Then you got Christian McCaffrey at number 3. Then Chase, Puka, JSN, Amon-Ra, the receiver tier. Back to Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown at 9, Justin Jefferson at 10, CeeDee Lamb at 11, and then James Cook at number 12. That is my preferred first round by my rankings for half-point PPR. Of note, with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I want to get your guys to weigh in on this. Cade Maye is expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks with this wrist injury. He is the Lions center. Do you think this hurts Jahmyr Gibbs, Ian, or does it free him up to catch more passes?
Doesn't help necessarily. You always want to have your starting 5 offensive linemen. But again, maybe we have Drew Petzing in there now, giving a better run scheme, as we have seen, from the LaFleurs and from the Shanahan's, usually a great coach, can overcome some deficiencies on the offensive line. So I'm still going Jahmyr Gibbs, number 1, because I still think the Lions have a much better chance of being a top 5 scoring offense than the Atlanta Falcons. So again, it'd be ideal if every single offensive line was healthy, but I'm not too worried there. What I am worried about, Pat, is you're trying to go high on Chase Brown. Why not go all the way in? Rank him RB4 over Jonathan Taylor. Which one do we think could be in a really bad offense? It's Jonathan Taylor, man. Chase Brown over JT. Come on, join me, man. We got room on this bandwagon right now.
Done. Easy sell. Chase Brown, number 8. Jonathan Taylor, number 9.
I'm good with that. We love Chase Brown on this show. Actually, just did another one. I feel like Chase Brown's finally starting to get the respect deserved. To quit your question, Pat, I just think it ties or breaks the tie for me, where I'll take Bijan number 1. Like, if you want to take Gibbs, that's fine. But we're talking about Bijan just came off a season where he beat Gibbs in points per game in PPR, half PPR, like whatever format you want to choose, including PPR, over 100 targets. People act like Bijan Robinson doesn't get the receiving game work that Gibbs does. I'm not saying that you guys do that. It's just like it's perception out there because he's on the Falcons. And then people are just like, he stinks. He's just kind of whatever. He's sharing so much with Tyler Algier, and now he's going to share with Brian Robinson. Okay, if Brian Robinson gets the exact workload that we had last year that Tyler Algier had, he still beats Gibbs. And I will admit, Gibbs has the higher ceiling. I just think with this injury, and from what I've been reading for the people that cover the Lions, and I trust anybody else's opinion on offensive line more than myself because I'm not an offensive line grader. But when they say that the center replacement is replacement level, as in one notch above free agents or practice squad guys, that's enough for me to say, you know what, I'm just going to put Bijan number 1 just to break the tie.
So because I wanted Bijan to be number 1, that I'm going to spin this the other way, that what are more valuable touches? Are they passes or are they rushes in terms of being a fantasy running back?
Well, fantasy receptions, which is why Bijan
so,
was higher.
So if you have an interior of an offensive line that is somewhat diminished, it would lead me to believe that you're going to do more off-tackle running or get more involved in the passing game. So we could see, and to your point, are people arguing that Gibbs is more involved in a passing game than Bijan? Because Bijan, it was like McCaffrey than Bijan last year. And
no, that's what I'm saying. It's the perception. When you see people out there like in the fantasy landscape that read and listen to us, perception is that Gibbs is the better option in the passing game. And I think that's the thing. It's not that he's a better player. It's just that he's the better receiving. Like, people talk up Gibbs, but like, because it's all going to be this reception department, and don't ever bring that up with Bijan is my point.
And Ian Gibbs also now has this backfield all to himself. And we saw when that was the case last year, he was unstoppable.
Whatever, man. They're both awesome. If you guys want to draft Bijan over Gibbs, go for it. Again, we have them number 1 or number 2 overall. So I think we're all pretty close at the end of the day, you know?
Do you have Christian McCaffrey at 3 like I do?
I don't hate it, because more and more I like getting my number 1. I like getting a running back in round 1. And I have a little bit of concern about Jonathan Taylor, as we've kind of been talking about. So Puka, Chase, I have them 3 and 4, but, you know, I have seen again more and more as I'm finally getting into, you know, a bunch of these redrafts in August here. Starting off with CMC in round 1, man, again, assuming he stays healthy, you're talking about someone with 20 plus fantasy point game upside. He seemingly does it every single year he's out there. I like the way, even if I like Puka and Chase, like kind of in a vacuum more than CMC, like Jake, I feel better about my team overall when I get an RB in round 1.
I do too, but I think the way things are falling this year, I've been okay. Like, I've actually done a few mocks over on Fantasy Pros from the 3-4 spot. I actually hate my team overall. I don't really like the 3-4 spot this year because I feel like this is the decision you're making. You're making the CMC versus I have Nakua, Chase, and JSN, then go CMC. He's my 3rd running back either way. But I just feel like the gap between these and starting off with what we're talking about before, a Chase Brown combination, maybe you double down at running back, maybe with a Hampton or a James Cook, or you go wide receiver there. I just like that. I like the back end of the first round more than having to make this 3rd, 4th pick and kind of doing something we're talking about. Like, I agree with you, Pat. You brought it up weeks ago, and it sounds like we're on the same page. Like, if he's healthy, he was just the number 1 player in fantasy, like outside of quarterbacks, obviously. And he could be the number 1 running back again. We all know where this is going. We're going to get to December, whatever, and we're going to be like, team, he can stay healthy, told you so's, or the team, he's going to get hurt because he got too many touches, are going to be the told you so's, and one of those camps is going to be screaming at the other that they were right.
And I don't want to. There are certain guys that you factor in injury-related concerns for. I think when we talk about Alec Pierce, that'll be one. Nabers continues to be a bit of a mystery, although I'm kind of coming out the other side of that, being like, I think he's going to be fine. And if he's fine, he's like the best draft pick on the board, isn't he?
Or J.K. Dobbins, who's Grant Hill at this point. Like, those are different injury concerns.
Correct. So, like, for example, I have, where the hell do I have him? Where did I put, maybe I wasn't super high on him. Where did it?
Dobbins?
Which player?
No, Nabers.
You have Nabers, wide receiver, 16. Yeah, come on, man. Rookie numbers.
Is that too low? Is that too high?
No, I'm writing with you.
I'm like wide receiver 11 or 12 with Nabers. I moved up to 10. I put him ahead of Devontae Smith at this point.
Did you? So that's actually where I was looking, because I have him at 38 right now, and I think I could make a compelling case that he and George Pickens are like a coin flip.
I think he should be going at the end of round 2. Jake, I hear you with the 3-4 predicament, but I just feel like that round 1-2 turn, man, a couple of those running backs are going to bust. Now, I would like to think I know the answers because we are being paid to do this and everything. I like Chase Brown,
You're being
Saquon.
paid?
I almost prefer pick 1 or pick 2.
Well, yeah, I would prefer pick 1 or pick 2 as well. But I think to Jake's point, so where I have Chase Brown at number 8 overall now, thank you, up from 9, thanks to you, Ian, that he's going outside of the first round anyway. That if I get pick 10, 11, or 12, I can pick whoever I want and probably get Chase Brown in the second round. And I would feel very good about that with my team. Whereas if I had the 6th pick, I'm picking between Amon-Ra and JSN, depending on your draft. Maybe McCaffrey falls that low because some people want to go receivers over the perceived injury risk of Christian McCaffrey. If you get McCaffrey at 6, I think that's great. I would take him at 3. I'd love to have him at 6. And then maybe your second round pick feels better. But because I like Chase Brown so much, knowing that I can get him at picks 13, 14, or 15 most of the time. Like if I have pick 12, I'm almost guaranteed to get Chase Brown, unless I'm drafting against myself, which is, theoretically impossible. So I like how that team starts for me because I get the guys that I want.
I just feel like having 3 picks in the first 25 or 26 pretty nicely because there is that kind of drop off once you get in the early part of round 3. I don't want to try to act like I can predict, again, 10 rounds of a fantasy draft, but top 25, 26 picks is reasonable. And again, if you can get a Gibbs or Bijan, have a chance at Bowers, or if he's gone and maybe they're taking Josh Allen, like there's still going to be maybe a Derrick Henry hanging around. I got AJ Brown in the first couple picks of round 3 in a draft I'm in right now. So like, I just think, again, having that chance. Third round reversal throws it off. That's some communist BS, and I want nothing to do with it unless it benefits my fantasy team directly. Then I'm okay with it. But again, it's more so like just the end of round 2, early part round 3. I like those guys when you have to wait all the way again to get back in the round 3-4 turn. Picking out 11, 12. I feel like that's when you have a ton of question marks.
Yeah, and we're on the same page in the fact, like, I think what you said, Pat, was my point. It's like, yeah, I would like to have 1 or 2. It's the fact I don't really like 3, 4, 5. And that's the difference is that, I know we're just looking at last year and it's a small sample because it's only last year. But at the end of the first, second round, or the end of the first round, early second last year, there was a lot of us, even I think we talked about this on this show last year, but we're like starting with a Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Henry, Puka Nacua, Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua. Like those were the end. That was the turn in the first round last year. Even CMC was in that point at some point. So like, I'm just saying that like you can come out with 2 really elite players versus 1 elite and then 1 we're already starting to get into questions. Nitpicky here. But yeah, I would love to have 1 or 2. Just the 3, 4, 5 doesn't feel great.
So my entire basis, we've kind of went through this. We've done each of the individual player by player tier rankings. If you missed any of those shows, hit the show notes. They're all out there. We've done them over the past month or so, and that helped construct a lot of what I'm doing with these rankings. And even when it's funny when you guys like this, that I did these rankings, I felt good about them, and I sent them off to you. And now I'm looking at them and be like, man, I can move that guy way up. I can move this guy way down. Does that happen to you?
It's more so for me is like I get into the range, especially with wide receiver 2s and 3s, where like I want to put some higher, but then I'm looking at the names in front of them. And I'm like, but can I? And that's where I get stuck is like, we talk about some of these when we go back to the discussions, including the show I mentioned with, I watched the one that I wasn't on. It's like some of these players and I'm like, hey, I want to push this name up because I'm in on them. I really think it could be a breakout season or a difference maker in your fantasy draft. But then you look at the names in front and you're like, well, I can't because I would still take those guys.
Like for example, I'm looking at my 35 to 40 range here. That's where Malik Nabers ends up coming in. It's a whole tier of wide receivers where I end up going DJ Moore, Lad McConkey, Luther Burden, who we'll talk about in a minute with his injury, Malik Nabers, Chris Olave, Tet McMillan. And then I look up a little bit to that Achane, Javonte Williams, Breece Hall tier. We're like, should I just take those guys over them? Like I have no idea what those guys are going to do.
I say get Nabers up there, but I will say in general, like, yeah, sure. Looking at my ranks is a situation where I'll, move some guys around, but it's getting into drafts, whether it's mock drafts, whether you want to do best ball, whether you're again in 20 different redraft leagues, like it's actually being on the clock and seeing that Chuba Hubbard is my next highest ranked player. Look at myself in the mirror and saying, I don't want to draft Chuba Hubbard. So I better be changing the ranks.
Moving him down. I've done that before. Like a lot of these mocks is like when I sit there and like, you know what, now the decision's there. And some of it comes down to team makeup, which we talk a lot about on the show and in general is like, where you want to go high risk, high reward, that kind of situation. But if you're sitting there and if we are doing what we say we're doing, put our money where our mouth is, like he just did the flex league, that being Ian, and he drafted an Ian team, is that if we're going to sit there and be like, I'm going to take this guy, well, then he probably should be higher in your ranks, to your point, Pat.
Yeah, and I'll probably end up adjusting all these around. The final version will be out if two people's inboxes are available in that link in the show notes while they're watching the show, because I do want to make the adjustments after talking it through with you guys. This is like the pre-final draft to the final draft before it comes out. That's why it's still in a Word doc right now, not up on any sort of website. So I think that's instructive to go through. The other thing is, like I talked about with Chase Brown, I have him ranked at 8. His ADP right now, I'm using the 4for4 ADP finder between all of the sites. Chase Brown is going at running back 10. He's going as high as 12, as low as 15 in some spots. On ESPN, he's going as low as 24 at the moment. So knowing that information, I think, is also a very helpful pairing guide with ranking. Just because someone's ranked highly, not that you should wait 3 rounds to take the guys that you want. I think Ian's made that point over the years as well. But if I can wait 8 picks knowing that guy just probably isn't going to go, I think it is worth trying to get 2 guys that are high on the list rather than just 1.
Exactly. Because like we say this all the time, like get your guys, but don't be stupid about it. Like just because you have somebody higher, like the ADP is a tool to tell you how long you think you might be able to wait to get your guys. That's basically what it comes down to. So if you want to jump a round, like I think the biggest thing that people miss is like we sit here in like round 5 and it's the 502 and somebody's like, oh my God, I can't believe you took this guy that's normally going at 608. He wasn't going to be there for you anyway in the 6th round. So if you really believe in him and you want to go get your guy, because nobody's going to remember at the end of the day, like, oh, I can't believe you went a round ahead. It's the problem that you get into when you want to be the smartest man in the room. Let's say Luther Burden didn't get hurt and you start drafting Luther Burden in the 3rd round because you're like, oh, everybody loves Luther Burden. I'm going to be the one that gets him. And that's where you start buying all the risk. And that's really what it comes down to. I see Ian shaking his head a lot in agreement, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. And I do think, again, just the point of Pat's really high on Chase Brown. So rank him high. Let the people know that. As much as I would like to think that everyone's going to listen to every word we say on this show and all of our other shows and stuff, only so many hours in the day. So rankings, it's just a list of numbers and names. And it's a little bit tough to sometimes get across your big, just who's actually going to buzz, who's someone I favor. So making bigger stands in the ranks and then kind of leaving it up to whoever's drafting to know their room, to know the ADP. It makes sense to me. I will also say in general, like first 5 rounds though, I'm not trying to go more than 10 usually picks ADP wise. I just feel like the first 5-6 rounds of any given fantasy draft, we're paying more attention to those guys. It's sharper and you can look over time. Like there's more hits in that range than there's going to be in round 7+. So don't be a hero in the first 5 or so rounds of your draft. After, round 6 or 7, that's when I'm kind of throwing ADP out the window more or less.
I agree with you 90% of the time. However, to Jake's point, depending on where you pick, like if you have the 1st or 2nd pick, or even if you play, especially like a 14 team, like the 13th or 14th pick, that after you get out of the first 3 rounds, you have to understand that there's so much time before it gets back to you. If there is someone you want, you have to take them then.
Yeah. His teammate, former teammate, I should say, and Kendall Valenzuela in Flex yesterday. She had the 301 and she took Malik Nabers knowing there was no chance he was going to be there at the end of the 4th round, which as of today, depending on where you stand on it, if you think that's too early, like you have him in the mid-30s overall. I have him in the mid-30s overall too. You got to take him there if you really feel like the upside's worth it. And that's your guy at that point, because like you said, I mean, you're talking 22 picks before you pick again. Nabers wasn't coming back to her. So it might look a little bit aggressive given like it sounds optimistic. But I agree with you, Pat. I think that's the biggest takeaway that we all have from this.
What's the lowest ranked you've seen Christian McCaffrey? Because I have an opinion on this.
I really had like everybody's like, oh, there's no way it's happening again. Yet I have yet to see somebody not rank him as a 1st rounder.
So if that's the case, should he just automatically be number 3?
That's what I think we talked about, the kind of in retrospect on the RB show.
Like you're either drafting him, or, like if he's not good enough.
Puka though,
sure, but if McCaffrey hits, he's better than those guys. Value to your fantasy team. What's the point of ranking him at 6? Like he's either going to be that valuable or not valuable.
I just think that with Chase and Puka, those are the 2 wide receivers where health permitting, quarterbacks stay healthy. It's tough to see them not scoring 20+ fantasy points per game. Is CMC higher? Yes. Father time comes for him all, man. He is 30 plus. He is coming off the big touch season. Like there's more than one red flag for CMC.
I understand.
So
I understand that, but that's worth the 6th pick to you. It's just I say that he's more valuable because the higher end running backs, like the first 4 running backs in terms of overall scoring, the delta between their scoring and like the next 4, and then the next 4, and the next 4 is so vast versus wide receivers where, yeah, those guys are going to score a ton of points. They might outscore the running backs, but the difference between the top 5 and the next 5 aren't going to necessarily be as pronounced as you're going to see at running back. Like there's a drop off at running back where guys just simply don't score within 100 points of the other ones.
You know what, Pat?
Go ahead.
You listened to me. You moved up Chase Brown a spot. I think you're right. CMC, number 3 overall. Check it out, RotoWire.com.
Links in the description for all of Ian's rankings and content over there. Ditto for Jake. You can go to The Athletic or just hit the link. Get all of
small
Jake's...
site. We're getting going over there.
What?
I said small site. We're getting going over there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard about it yet.
If you've ever heard of it, the crooked New York Times hiring Jake to give his fake news fantasy football rankings, we'll be fine. Have you ever tried to figure out which supplements you should actually be taking? It's chaos. Everyone's got a different answer. Everyone sounds completely confident. And somehow, the more you research, the more confusing it gets. That's what I like about the approach behind Blueprint's longevity mix. Instead of starting at a cabinet full of different supplements and trying to figure out what goes with what, just 1 scoop of water, mix it up, and you're done. Easy stuff. Blueprint is built around scientific evidence with study-level dosages and ingredients like magnesium, taurine, and creatine. Longevity Mix is designed to support energy, cognitive performance, mood, focus, sleep, cellular resilience, and healthy aging. Something which I need, by the way. Getting old over here. And you probably know Blueprint founder Brian Johnson, the guy on the internet basically trying to live forever. He's running one of the most measured longevity experiments out there, tracking biomarkers and publishing the data. That experiment-first philosophy is what led to Blueprint. They also third-party test for purity and toxins like heavy metals and publish the results so you can see exactly what is in their supplements. Science-backed, precision-dosed, no BS. For a limited time only, new customers get 20% off plus free shipping at blueprint.brianjohnson.com by using code MAYO at checkout. That's code MAYO at blueprint.brianjohnson.com for 20% off. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support the Pat Mayo experience and tell them our show sent you, pals. Next 10. So after CeeDee Lamb comes in at number 11, then you got James Cook, Ashton, Jeanty. Where else we going here? Saquon, Barkley, Amari and Hampton, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker. That's that big running back tier that we made together. Then I got A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, and Drake London at 20 to finish out the second round of a 12-team league. Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, and Brock Bowers. And Ian, as you mentioned, I'm already kind of regretting not having Malik Nabers as a part of this tier.
Yeah, the other one I will say, man, I've been wavering a little bit on Justin Jefferson inside the top 10.
What?
Like, why are we drafting Justin Jefferson over A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown, as bad as last season was, A.J. Brown was a low-end wide receiver 1. Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 30. Congrats, Kyler, on winning the job. Didn't exactly love the daily reports about it allegedly being close. Now, I know KOC named him August 11th, so it's not like it had to go down the wire or anything like that. But I just think when we look at this Vikings offense, we're not exactly expecting fireworks. And I've been fading Cardinals and Jets because I don't want to be having, Carson Beck and Cade Klubnik throwing to my dudes down the stretch. I don't really think Kyler's going to start 17 games. So do I really want J.J. McCarthy throwing to Justin Jefferson when my fantasy playoffs are on the line? I think those running backs are the move at the 1-2 turn. And I just think Jefferson, man, like giving him the benefit of the doubt over some of those dudes when you have CeeDee Lamb and honestly A.J. Brown, I think safer plays. I moved Jefferson down a little bit.
Do you drop Jefferson in tier? Would you drop Lamb with him with the way that I have my rankings constructed? Because I got
him a little bit down because, man, it's not that CeeDee isn't great. I think he'll finish as a low-end wide receiver 1, but just with Pickens there, like, I don't think we're getting the 2023 CeeDee number 1 wide receiver year as long as George Pickens is in this offense as well. He'll still be good, but when I'm drafting someone in round 1, I want there to be a possibility that they are going to be the best player at their position. I'm not so sure that's there for CeeDee.
Well, I think, but to the inverse of your point, I think that is there in the right circumstance for Justin Jefferson.
Agreed. I mean, they were talking about somebody 4 straight seasons, and in the injury one included. We're talking about 18.5 and half point PPR or more in all 4 seasons in points per game, and PPR over 20 in all 4 seasons. The injury season, he was still on pace for 170 targets and 100 receptions, and what has been a minimum of 1,500 yards. I think it just really comes down to JJ McCarthy was that shitty. Like, that's the fact. And I actually turned this to a positive, Ian. It's like, we all went into this as soon as this trade happens, like, this is Kyler Murray's job. Like, that was the least surprising announcement we've heard this offseason was Kyler Murray won the job. Haha, whatever. I think all the beat reporters talking up like, oh, it's closer than you might believe. As much as somebody who doesn't like JJ McCarthy, I joked before you were doing the show with me, I joked with Pat about it. I called him McHeineke because I thought he was just Taylor Heineke. But that being said, he's not even Taylor Heineke last year. If he could get to just being Heineke, a mid-level quarterback, as we've seen with Justin Jefferson before, with these jabronis of Nick Mullins in the world, he can still do it because he just needs somebody who knows how to play the quarterback position. And the clear thing is McCarthy can't. So the fact that he was pushing, I think maybe McCarthy would just dead him. Like, even somebody who hates him, we buried him for dead, left him for dead, and maybe he can be a mid-level quarterback. Maybe he can be a starter in the NFL, and he saw some development this offseason. So, to your point, if Murray goes down, it's not the end of the world that we saw last year. I admit, like you said, there is risk. I'm super in on Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is my 5th, right behind him on St. Brown.
Kyler sucked last year, man. He got benched for Jacoby Brissett, a veteran journeyman. Kyler
and his sucking last year was better.
Kyler averaged 6 yards per attempt. Shitty ass JJ McCarthy at least averaged 6.7.
These are all compelling cases.
So what are you going to do with it?
I'm going to keep him where he is. I just think that he has the potential to be the number 1 receiver. It's a I know ball claim here, Ian, is that when in doubt, Kyler Murray's going to know that guy is really good. Let me throw it up to him. And JJ McCarthy didn't do that last year. It was weird. He had those like halves.
He was targeting Addison and everybody else.
But there was that game where Jefferson complained, and then he had like 8 targets in the first half. And it's like, hey, he had 7 catches on. This is great. And they didn't throw to him in the second half.
Do you if you look at the second half of last year, he had 1 game with double-digit targets. Jefferson.
That seems low. Wouldn't want that.
Seems dumb.
If I was drafting him 10th overall, wouldn't want that. My issue.
Man, just looking though at the wide receivers, like I guess Drake London would be the only other guy going that high with such a questionable quarterback room.
Yeah, God forbid we get the Cooper Rush if both of them are hurt.
Yeah, it's fine.
Cooper Rush.
He just did it with a one-legged Kirk Cousins and Penix last year.
Michael Penix. Yeah, but at least Michael Penix was throwing to him 17 times a game.
It's true. Well, they only had two receivers because Darnell Mooney got really factored out pretty quickly. You had Pitts, you had Drake London, and that was all that was going to be in that Atlanta. That's probably why Bijan ended up with like 7 catch games at one point.
That's true. I will say this. London and Jefferson feel like they're in the same boat, is that they both have the potential to hit that top tier and be in the conversation of 20 points per game. But of all of them, I would put them behind both Cowboys when it comes to the risk factor. Like, as in, their floors are much lower.
Sure, but I do think that Jefferson just inherently is a better receiver than Drake London.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
My issue, the hardest part for me, were these running backs of that like second tier. Like, I would be good bumping, because I'm kind of with you on Jonathan Taylor, Ian, that I could take Jonathan Taylor and bump him down to that James Cook tier. Because James Cook, I think, has a very solid floor. I always worry about Josh Allen stealing his touchdowns, but I have him at 12. Then I got Jeanty. Maybe the offensive line still isn't good, even though Linderbaum is there. Maybe just that. Here's the biggest Raiders news of the week. Did you know that Donta Thornton, undisclosed, missed his 4th straight practice on Wednesday? That only leaves Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, and Jack Beck where it's at, playing receiver. So you have Bowers, you have Jeanty. There are game plans where you can take those guys out and they don't do anything.
All right, wait. Is this Pat Mayo pronouncing on purpose, or did you not know it's Besh, by the way?
No, I wanted to make the where it's at joke.
Oh. See,
Carson Beck's a loser, baby.
Jack Beck, Odelay, get to the end zone. But so you can make an anti-case against Jeanty. You know the volume's going to be there. Barkley, Hurts steals his touchdowns. The offense looks as anemic as last year. He doesn't have that huge upside. But you know where all the upside is in with all of this. You know what the ceilings are. But I feel like all these guys have big floors. Then you have Amari and Hampton. Mike McDaniel just comes out and say that Keaton Mitchell and Kamani Vidal and Hampton are all going to touch the ball in every single game. Well, that could mean Hampton touches it 30 31 times and the other guys touch it once. Like I have no
Exactly.
idea. I have no idea what that quote is supposed to mean, but at the same time, it's a guy who had a good rookie year. He was hurt for a lot of it. We expect this offense to be better, but I still think that he's a bit of an unknown of what the overall upside is, where I then take a look at, Derrick Henry. I'd say the same thing about Kenneth Walker, new situation, durability issues. Should I just have Jonathan Taylor as a part of this tier and bump up A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, Drake London, Devonta Smith, put Malik Nabers in here and George Pickens and Jalen Waddle and just go with those receivers at that spot? Or do I keep the running backs where they are? That's something I really struggled with.
Well, then let me ask you a question back to you, Pat.
Let me ask you a question, Jake.
Do you believe the Colts are winning 9 or 10 games this year?
Well, we just actually, the 10 minutes before we recorded this show, we did the AFC South preview, and their win total was 8.5, which I thought was interesting. Because on first glance, I think anyone looks at that and be like, man, that's terrible. Then I went through their schedule. I found them 9 wins pretty easily, honestly.
Well, so here's the thing. It's an insane stat, and obviously I expect it to be closer this year. But Jonathan Taylor in wins last year, 30 points per game. 30 points per game, as it would have blown out Christian McCaffrey for the number 1 running back position. But the losses, 10 points per game. It's the biggest gap we've seen in the past 10 years at running back from wins to losses. I know, again, I expect the gap to be slimmer this year, but part of those losses also came with no Daniel Jones. So really, if you turn to Riley Leonard and trust him to be the guy, it's just a lot going on with this team where he is one of those running backs that I don't think we could probably count on one hand that has had that kind of discrepancy between if the team is doing well and versus the team is doing bad. Because what do the Colts do? They're like everybody else. If they're down late, they're passing, even with Daniel Jones, even with Riley Leonard, even whoever it might be. So it really comes down to the defense to keep him into games. And there's a lot of where they just kind of are in it or completely out of it. And that's my concern with Jonathan Taylor. I'm still taking Taylor right behind Christian McCaffrey, but this all goes into your argument is that I would put him in that tier with James Cook and Chase Brown and all those other running backs, where if you want to take those before him, I have no problem with it.
Well, Ian, I've decided to bump down Jonathan Taylor again. Chase Brown is now a tier by himself in my rankings.
Are you going to put Jonathan Taylor in round 2 at this point?
Hey, I'm at 11. I have him at 11. I'm eyeing to bump him down to round 2, yes.
I also have him 11. I have James Cook, Saquon, and Chase Brown just ahead of Jonathan Taylor because, hot take, I think the Bills and Eagles and Bengals are going to score more points than the Colts, who have a one-legged quarterback. We're dying for the Colts to sign Keenan Allen at this point. That's like our savior, 34-year-old Keenan Allen. That's not going to fix everything. This looks horrible, guys.
Well, so to bring up the Colts, I have Alec Pierce ranked at number 92 right now. Is there any way that you would draft him in the first 7 rounds of a draft at this point, knowing what we don't know about his ankle?
You know what this feels like? We've talked a lot about Christian McCaffrey. This feels like that season where we got to week 1 and it's like, oh, by the way, Christian McCaffrey's not playing. Like that's legitimate. Like, and Pierce is gone for the year. Like, I am worried that we might not see Pierce until November at this point.
Yeah, me too. Problem.
And think about the allure for Alec Pierce. They're like, well, Michael Pittman's gone, so he's going to be able to have this big new role that he hasn't been able to practice once and God knows how long and actually learn what he's doing out there. He was the only Colt last year also who actually performed better when Daniel Jones hit the bench because he scored 2 touchdowns against the Niners when they didn't think Phillip Rivers could throw the ball more than 5 yards downfield. And then he went nuts in week 18 against a bunch of Texans backups, man. Alec Pierce was a perfectly fine boomer or bust wide receiver 4 that everyone talked themselves into being this like upside wide receiver 3. And we've ignored this dude being on the sideline for months.
Because to that point, I was going to say, I did a show with Pat Fitzmaurice and he brought up the really good point, which I'm going to echo what he said, is that if we had seen Alec Pierce practicing and found out, to your point, Ian, that he was working more on the outside with different routes that we haven't seen him run, and he was moving into the slot and outside and all these positions, and he's doing more in the tree, and they're running more plays instead of just trying to catch him over the seam middle for 15, 20 yards downfield and hopefully bust it into a big one. Like, that's what we would have been on. That was the appeal of Alec Pierce, is that 130 plus targets and different usage, and he's developing. But your point is what I think the biggest issue with this is not just the injury, is that now we don't even know if he's anything different than what he's been his entire career, even last year.
What was the drop-off in point? You say he scored more without Daniel Jones, but a lot of that was touchdown related because he notoriously just didn't score touchdowns at all.
Huge games.
I would guess that his overall receiving numbers were better with Daniel Jones. He just didn't score any touchdowns.
I'll try to find him. Man, like it wasn't pretty. He scored 1 or 2 touchdowns with Daniel Jones the entire season. It's not, dude, he didn't score a touchdown until week 10 last year. I mean, no one was lining up to play Alec Pierce as it was. And oh yeah, look who his quarterback is. Daniel freaking Jones, all right? The idea that Daniel Jones is just now definitively going to be the guy we saw in the first 10 weeks of last season forever, coming off a torn Achilles that happened in December. All due respect to Shane Steichen, he's made it happen with several different quarterbacks. He's obviously a good play caller and everything, but my God, man, I could just so easily see this offense bottoming out.
Would you rather draft, if you were on the clock right now, would you rather draft Downs or Pierce?
Downs.
All right,
Give me all the Downs and Warren right now. This is exactly why. Actually, to your point, Pat, is that before that touchdown, even with Daniel Jones, he was hovering in around, I think it was like 73-ish yards per game. He wasn't getting the end zone, as Ian said. If you have the exact number, Ian, I'd be curious. I think it was in the 70 range. And then when Daniel Jones went down, that's when you got the 80 or nothing and the 132 or nothing games at the end of the season. But it was more. It wasn't even necessarily hugely boom or bust. He was just a mediocre wide receiver 4 because he wasn't getting those touchdowns.
So I will reassess Josh Downs here. Do you think that he's closer to Stefon Diggs, or do you think that he's closer to Brian Thomas?
Here's my problem with Downs. They have to sign someone. It's probably going to be Keenan Allen, and that's going to impact it.
He's still the number 2. Like I'm not concerned about it. And like, what's
I
left
know,
of Keenan
like,
Allen?
yeah,
Keenan Allen's a walking corpse
more.
at this point.
Keenan Allen's like
he's gonna
30
play
years
outside
old.
more. He's 5'8", 170, man. I like Josh Downs too. It's fun to watch him route dudes up, in press coverage and get a whip route for 4 yards and everything. But you know
who else is that exact size that everybody's splooging over because he might be the number 1 is Trey Tucker. Like, can we stop at this?
No one is splooging over Trey Tucker. No one.
Yes, they person has ever splooged over Trey Tucker.
Yes. I get every single year in the comments, why do you hate Trey Tucker?
Oh, sploogey Jake, thinking about Trey Tucker.
Jaden Reed over Josh Downs. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed over Josh Downs?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so that's basically where I had him anyway. Let's bump down Alec Pierce even more from 92 then.
Good.
Would you go?
How low can we go?
Xavier Worthy or Alec Pierce as of today?
I'm just never drafting. You know what? I'll throw him right behind Romeo Doubs. So he's now 115 in the overall rank.
I've Worthy over Pierce.
That's why.
So first tight ends, like alternate positions that I have coming off the board. I have Brock Bowers at 24 and Trey McBride at 25. I really like Trey McBride a lot. I think that there's not much separating these two guys. Hence why I think when you take a look at ADP, that Bowers is probably going a little bit ahead of this, and McBride is probably going, right around that same spot. But I think that if you wait to this point at that 2-3 turn, if you're sitting there, that you can comfortably take one of these two guys. That I didn't want to rank Bowers at, let's say even if I liked him a little bit more than Drake London, which I don't, this is actually where I do like him, that there's no point of putting him at 20 with McBride 6 spots behind, since I think that if you're going to draft a tight end, just take one of these two and move on with your life.
So this is where, most years we've had this debate forever, as long as we've known each other, bad about the tight ends. But at the back end of round 2, I actually have him 20 and 21 back to back. I have Bowers at 20, McBride at 21, ahead of Nico Collins, Chris Olave, and those other wide receivers, because it's the potential leg up that you always argued for Travis Kelce. And we just saw McBride do it. And we know Bowers can do it no matter who the quarterback is. So that's why, similar to the argument, or not argument, the point we were bringing up a little while ago, is why I don't have him 24, 25, is because I think you kind of have to make that call a few spots ahead of there. Like, you have to kind of make that call before the turn team is taking him if you're going to get one of those two. So that's why I have him just a smidge higher.
I could see Loveland getting into the conversation, or one of the other tight ends getting boosted up, be it a Kraft, be it a Kittle, just guys that I like, that I think that can be somewhat comparable. Because the Kelce argument for years, Ian, and I brought this up to you and Tony when we did the tight end show, and Jake has heard it for 10 years now, especially when Kelce was good, and I had him ranked at 4 overall. But the gap between Kelce and everyone else was astronomical. Like, there was no one even competitive. You had like a Jason Witten year where he was within like 4 points per game, and he wasn't even being drafted as a top 10 tight end to begin with. Like, just you lucked into that. That's usually how it happened. In my mind, we have Bowers and McBride, then you have Loveland, and then you have a group of like 8 guys where 2 of them could be not in their league, but comparable enough that I think there will end up being 5 tight ends that if you have one of them, you're good. Where in previous years, it felt like there was a one of one, and if you didn't have him, you were way behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I mean, Jake was talking earlier about the benefits of picking out the turn. And when you are doing that, man, when round 3 and 4 comes around, Colston Loveland, man, just sticks out around a bunch of questionable dudes. So definitely, again, love that build for Loveland kind of round 3 and 4 if you do wind up having that later draft position. I've been on record, though, man. I want Bowers, and I just do not want McBride this season. Could the Cardinals be fine? Sure. I think if we we had to try to be glass half full on every offense, I think the only 2 we couldn't be without like lying to ourselves would be the Dolphins and Browns. Every other offense could be good. All right. Guess what? They're not all going to be good. Vegas tells us the Cardinals and Jets are actually going to be the 2 worst offenses. And honestly, I would probably say the Browns and Dolphins. Cardinals and Jets are probably coming in 29th and 30th. So Raiders aren't a ton better. I get it. But the difference I see here between Bowers and McBride is the target competition, man. And it's also a new offense. One of the new offenses is led by Clint Kubiak. The other new offense is led by freaking Mike LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett. Okay. So there's several red flags going on with Trey McBride. I just don't think it's a 0, man. Super Bowers. Give me Brock well ahead of McBride.
Where you're outvoted 2-1, so watch EMB right now. Yeah. That's how this works.
I was gonna say, that's where I kind of disagree a little bit. I just still think no matter who the quarterback is, even if it's the next coming of Peyton Manning and Carson Beck, as we saw in that preseason, I think that the targets are going to be there for McBride. I think this is a situation where, similar to Kelsey or all these other tight ends that were like a Bowers, he is the one. Probably, I would say, I give a 20-25% chance that he's not the one. And in that case, he's still the 2 and walking into 120 targets instead of 160. So that's really where the difference comes in. My debate is that I still think this team not going to pass as much. They threw 650 times last year. Like, they're not throwing 650 times this year. But even if they threw 560 to flip those 2 numbers and gave him a 25% target share, you're talking about 140 targets. So that's really what it comes down to. I think McBride's getting a little too much hate, despite the fact that I agree with Ian. Like, I don't love this coaching staff put together. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett was the one that told everybody that he was going to run CJ Spiller until he puked. Let's remember who Hackett is.
I have Josh Allen at 31. And Jake, you weren't on the quarterback show, and this is the point that I made, but I wanted to get you to weigh in on it, that I just don't think you can go wrong taking Josh Allen. Like, maybe he gets hurt and your season's screwed, but teams that draft Josh Allen do really well in fantasy.
I don't even hate it because I have Josh Allen at 33. I just also have Drake Maye at 34. I don't understand the Drake Maye hate. Like, I don't understand how we just got Drake Maye doing everything he did with arguably some of the worst wide receiver core that we've seen in years. Does all that. He runs, which is what we want from a quarterback. And he gets one of the best deep ball pass catchers in the league. And Drake Maye was top 5 in every metric you could find in deep ball passing. And now he not only has A.J. Brown as his number 1, he also has Romeo Doubs as his 2, which Romeo Doubs as the 1 would have been better than anything you had last year. And all of a sudden, nobody wants Drake Maye. Everybody's like, I don't know. That schedule was so easy. Like, get the hell out of here. We're trying to predict what the schedule is going to matter for the entire season. I'll take Drake Maye 1 spot right behind Josh Allen.
See, where I would push back on that, Ian, would be, we know Josh Allen is going to do it. Like, regardless of schedule, regardless of elements, it's Josh Allen's locked in. This is what he does. If he gets hurt, that's bad luck on you. I have Lamar as the number 2 quarterback, and I have him at number 45 on a tier by himself, because if he's not injured, we know the fantasy points that he puts up. I have Maye at number 3. I have him down at 60, which is above the other tier where it's like a clump of like Burrow and Herbert and Daniels and those guys. I think that he is clearly the number 3 because everything that Jake said, but at the same time, I am hesitant that we may have just saw the best year of his career too.
On the other side, though, I do agree with Jake, where when you just, if we go back to February and it's like, all right, what do we need from this Patriots offense? We want more firepower, wide receiver. They got it. And then also add some resources to the offensive line. They also did that. Is he going to regress? I'm sure he will. No one freaking leads the NFL in yards per attempt and completion rate in back-to-back seasons. But the other thing, when that schedule is not going to be as easy, we're not going to see so many games where it's just Ramondre running it out in the fourth quarter, man. So last year, the Patriots, I believe they're actually top 10 in drop back rate over expected, but because the expectation was always that they were going to run the ball. We only wound up with, I think, like not that many pass attempts overall. So I have Josh Allen 30. I agree with you there. I have Lamar. I moved up Drake Maye over Jaden Daniels. The Laramie Tunsil thing was just enough for me to go ahead and just do that. Let's face it, probably was a mistake even before the Laramie Tunsil part, but we're at least on the right side of history now. I got Lamar, Maye, Daniels, Hurts, and Burrow in that same tier. Best version of Lamar Jackson is the best fantasy quarterback we've ever seen. No one's ever topped his 2019 season. I just look at Lamar, and do we really think he's going to be someone aging super gracefully, just putting up these top 5 bonker seasons into his 30s? I don't think so. I'm skeptical of this Ravens offense having much of any firepower. I like Zay Flowers. I'm sick enough to still like Rashad Bateman, but there's a lot of olds in Baltimore with a first-time play caller. The offensive line, again, continues to be a question mark. It's been a question mark Lamar's entire career, but when he's at 100%, he can make up for it. I don't know if he's always going to be 100% now as he continues to get older.
Lamar's only 29. Let's not dig a grave for Lamar here yet.
I know, but when your entire game is based around being like the biggest freak athlete on the field, like Lamar losing a half a step is going to be more consequential than any other quarterback losing half a step.
I would agree. I just don't think he's there.
You still get 4 games, just like Josh Allen, of playing the Jets and the Dolphins. So I'm not really worried about that schedule versus you want to talk about that. Lamar on paper, he's still got the Steelers and what is now a pretty scary, what it looks like to be Bengals defense, that and the Browns defense, even without Myles Garrett, is still more respectable than the Dolphins and the Jets.
I'll take a rain check on. I'll wait to see what the Bengals defense looks like first.
The Bengals defense was already solid, and then they added the
Bengals
everything
defense,
about Dexter Lawrence has been
in
like
the second half of the season last year was excellent. They're probably not as bad as they were the first half of the year. They're also probably not as good as they were.
Not as good as
none of this matters.
But they're better than the Dolphins and Jets.
Not the late round quarterback. None of this matters.
I do. Well, I think this does matter only because I think that Josh Allen is the quarterback that you go get. If you go get him, based on my rankings, you can wait on almost everyone else, I think.
Well, so to Ian's point and yours, here's your real argument here. If you're looking for somebody who scores 20 points a game plus, just like Josh Allen, just go get Trevor Lawrence as your late round quarterback.
I have less faith in that happening again.
I got Bo Nix in round 13 and then Jared Goff in round 14 in Jake's draft yesterday. They were going next to Braylon Allen and Jerry Jeudy and Jacoby
Where
Lane.
did Stafford go? I missed it because Stafford seems to be like down in the teens coming off what was the number 2 performance last year.
Stafford went round 14 as well. And Jordan Love went after Goff. Baker went in the last round.
Was it 2 quarterbacks, right?
Crazy.
Obviously not if quarterbacks are going that late, but I wouldn't even have drafted Jared Goff there. Just like I got Bo Nix. Sure. Let's go.
Malik Willis.
I think at that point, I'll go ahead and take 2 shots. I kind of draw the line probably just after T-Law or Purdy. T-Law is interesting because, Pat, you brought up the schedule, so I actually don't mind tacking on Goff late there. But, again, like, there weren't even good handcuffs available at that point. Ray Davis was off the board, like Tank Bigsby. So, I just think the biggest gap between what you can expect between positions, it's the quarterbacks versus the other dudes going literally around 13 and 14.
Sure, but I don't know. If I get to a point where I'm either I'm waiting that long or I'm drafting a second quarterback, and you and I have already hashed this out. We'll get Jake to weigh in. I just don't think that in a 1 quarterback, 12-team league or 14-team league, Jake, that you want Jared Goff as your quarterback because you're going to have the 10th best quarterback. That doesn't cut it. You're better off drafting Willis or Shuck or one of these guys and pray it's the season they hit.
That's where I'm at. That's where I always go. So if I wait till the end game, unless it is a Lawrence, which I would be happy as Lawrence is my only one. I'm a true believer in Liam Cohen and that fit in the offense and getting the Lawrence that we hope we would get out of college. But all that being said, unless I get, because I do have Lawrence as a top 10 quarterback. So unless I get somebody like a Dak or a Lawrence or something like that at the end game, I'm taking 2 shots because the 2 shots at potentially getting what we want at the quarterback position. We want the Mays, the Daniels, if healthy, Lamar, if healthy. We want the names that are scoring 20 plus points per game. So if I'm waiting till the end game, I don't want the one that I'm like, cool, I got 17 points per game. I got QB 13. Yay. I want 2 shots at potentially getting somebody that makes me look at my quarterback position and say, you know what? I have a leg up on at least 8 of the other teams. And that's where I would take a Willis, Lawrence. I don't even like Shook as much as a lot of people do, and I would take a flyer on him. Jackson Dart, love him at that point. 20 points per game in the games he started. I would take a shot on him. So I'm shooting for top 5 at that point.
Yeah, see,
Just the idea that Goff has no upside is so freaking outdated, man. He's averaged more
that he has
fantasy. These last
upside.
two seasons,
It's all his arm.
Goff has more fantasy points per game than Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Justin Herbert, Jackson Dart, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford.
Are you using the 2 years combined? Did Jared Goff have more fantasy points per game than Drake May
That's
last year?
Not last year. So, kudos there. Last 2 years, though, top 5 finishes because he doesn't have enough upside. All right. Here's the total list of quarterbacks with more top 5 weekly finishes in Goff over these last 2 years: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. That's it.
This is going to be great when I'm playing my 2024 league again this year.
They don't even play an outdoor game of any consequence until week 17 in Chicago.
That also went bunk 2 years ago anyway. So
I'm telling you, he suffers from Phillip Rivers syndrome, where he is going to be a top 16, top half quarterback every single week. You're going to look at the end of the year, and he's going to be 100 points behind the guy who's in like 5th.
He is free. And we're just—
That's fine. Tyler Shuck is free.
Game.
Malik Willis is free. These guys have a chance. You guys sat here on this show last year, and I was on the other side of this. You're like, Justin Fields is the best quarterback of all time. Like, well, what if he gets benched? Well, no way he could get benched. He's too goddamn good. It's like, oh yeah? Justin Fields, huh? And you're actually spending real draft capital on him. You can get that same old of a guy that you guys love, you especially, Ian, for free in the last round to try to get that upside, which what you're looking for.
And that was dumb of me to say, Pat, because Justin Fields wasn't free last year, but Jared Goff and Malik Willis are free this year.
Then take Willis. Take Willis over Goff. Like, the percentage that Goff is better than Malik Willis as a fantasy quarterback is probably 85%. But it's that 15% that you're looking for from that last round pick that wins you your league.
Why is it so different between Burrow and Goff? Look at all the sort of, league passing touchdowns, the league passing yards leaderboards on DraftKings, wherever you want. And you're going to see them both at the very top. So we're saying what? Burrow's going to run for an extra 75 yards and maybe score 1 touchdown?
Burrow should run for more than that.
Years.
How many did he get last year?
Well, he played like 2 games.
41 yards in 8 games.
Your argument for Baker Mayfield was better because at least 2 years ago, he was in the 300-400 yard rushing range and was throwing for 4,500 yards and 30-something touchdowns.
Yeah, but he can't run like that. When he runs like that, he gets hit, then he gets hurt, and then he sucks. This is what we saw last year.
If we're trying to find this year's Matt Stafford, the guy who's going to throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns, and he's free at the end of draft.
Well, that's Matt Stafford. It's Matt Stafford. He's free at the end of draft,
just another
too.
Matt Stafford.
This year's Matt Stafford. Yeah, this year's Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford. That could be.
The problem is with Goff is he doesn't throw 40 touchdowns. Like, he gets the 4,500 yards, but because that's the Stafford. We're looking for a Stafford. It's just not what Goff is going to do. And I think
that's your first bad take. He threw 37 and 34 touchdowns these last 2 years.
Is that 40?
I mean, come on.
If you're not going to run, I need to feel. Maybe I have a misevaluation of Jared Goff and his overall potential in this offense. And he plays in a division where teams have no defense, which is very helpful. Like, Minnesota is easily the best defense in that division outside of Detroit. And even they may severely regress with some of the guys that they've lost. But without Ben Johnson there, let's say he gets to 40. That would be amazing. If Jared Goff throws 40 touchdowns this year, where does he end up on the list of highest scoring fantasy quarterbacks? 6th?
Yeah, sure. And you got him in round 14.
Well, that's awesome, but that's his upside.
We just talked about, think about it. There's no more David Montgomery. We're talking about him throwing the ball more with Jahmyr Gibbs. We got Sungod, we got J-Mo, we got Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a freaking loaded offense that we all expect to be awesome with a defense that can never stop anyone. Like, come on.
Well, I think losing the center hurts Jared Goff more than it hurts Jahmyr Gibbs in this spot.
Let's not pretend like we thought about Cade Mays once this entire freaking offseason.
No, but listen, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm some sort of offensive line expert, but I hear losing starting center, that sounds bad.
I heard losing starting center, and when the beat reporters say that the guy's replacement level, that's the concern. I mean, we've seen centers from other teams and these kind of things happen. But all that being said, is it just what I was going to say? Here's your answer. If you want to go Ian's way, the safe route, if you wait till the end game and only want to take one bullet because you want your other bench players to be running backs, wide receivers, maybe you're only in a 4 bench man league or whatever, and you don't want 2 quarterbacks, then take Goff. If you want the upside of what we're arguing for, you take the 2 quarterbacks, because my biggest thing is my easiest way to say it, Pat, we're on the same page, is I just don't want QB 10. QB 10 means nothing to me.
And if I was
Shrugs, if backup center Juice Shrugs was a 2nd-round pick in the 2023 draft. Houston didn't know how to use him.
Oh,
Juice Shrugs.
That's what it was.
Couldn't
Houston, with their offensive line issues across the board, didn't have a use for this guy.
Nope, didn't know how to use him.
If I was to redo these rankings for 2 QB or super flex, I would actually completely buy the Jared Goff argument here and that style of quarterback, because I just think inherently they have more value when you have to have 2 quarterbacks, because he's very stable. But
the idea that all these top 10 guys are just going to be awesome, like what if Caleb Williams just continues to complete 58% of his passes?
Then he's not going to be there. But you're still shooting. But it's no different than the argument you
made.
made. Hold on.
Why are you strawmanning us? We weren't even talking about Caleb Williams.
I think that's a valid point, because there's going to be turnover. But my argument against Jared Goff is the same argument that you brought up with Dallas Goedert when we did the tight end show. It's like, what are you really getting from Dallas Goedert? The 9th best tight end? You could probably stream guys on a week-to-week basis that are better than that, and you might actually luck into one of these high-end guys.
Easily at quarterback.
What's that?
I said even more easily at quarterback than at tight end.
But you might, with that he has a capped upside, and that even if he has his very best season, he will never be tight end number 1. Whereas if Goff has his best season this year, there's no chance he's going to be a top 3 quarterback. And he might be, like I said, the 5th quarterback, the 6th quarterback at the highest end. If you stream every single week, you might have weeks that are worse than Jared Goff puts up, but on the whole, you could probably manufacture something together with the right matchups, all depending on the size of your league as well and the scoring format. And you have the ability to luck into that guy that actually does break the slate, which I think is a very underrated part of football, fantasy football at least.
You should have just argued against me, Ian. You should have just said, well, then what's the reason of taking Dak Prescott? And I would have said, touche, I need to move Dak Prescott down my ranks.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's very Joe Burrow-y.
It's Burrow,
I think he's more Jared Goff
than Goff. Yeah. They're basically the same person.
Yeah, I can see that. I like Dak better, but that's me. I just think he's better.
Yeah.
I should throw the floor over to you guys. I sent you my rankings. Where do you got the biggest discrepancies here?
Oh, here we
Go
go.
to Ian full screen so I can take this bone away from the dogs fighting over it.
There's no more full screen, Jake. We don't do that anymore.
Let's see. I mentioned Jetta's George Kittle, tight end 6. Achilles just don't matter, Pat?
I'm taking my swing here. This is a swing where I'm taking that if he is okay, I get a supreme discount on George Kittle, and I want my rankings to signify that I'm willing to take that risk.
Okay.
Because he is the last. He is the last of the tight ends that I have identified that could actually be a real. Listen, Harold Fannin might be fine to get you your 12 points per week. If I'm shooting to find one of these top 3 guys, we know that's a Kittle upside if he's okay. And
I agree.
Maybe the substation is helping his Achilles. It's taking it away from everyone else and giving it to George Kittle.
The other 2. All right. When I look at the tight end 2 range, I think there's 2 guys in it where if we get one good week of usage, they could legit be top 10, or if not like top 6 immediately. Dalton Kincaid and Terrence Ferguson.
People love Terrence Ferguson.
I don't want any part of the Rams tight ends.
He's free.
Again, there's a reason he's free. I don't want to. I'm more with you on the Kincaid thing, but the real truth about him is, one, the health, which hopefully he's 100%, because I think that got overlooked the past 2 years. But does the health equate the Bills starting to use him 70% of the time? Because they still haven't done that. So if we get to 70, 80%, Kincaid could be the breakout tight end that everybody's like, man, I knew it was coming at some point. I wish it was in this year. I love taking flyers on Kincaid. I'm mostly sitting in that Tyler Warren range with Harold Fannin, understanding their captain, their touchdown upside probably, but potentially leading their teams in targets. The Isaiah Likely too. But I'm with you on the Kittle thing, Pat. And that's why, is because it's the similar argument that we just had with the quarterback position. If Kittle is even close to 100%, and even if it takes 2 weeks, that having Pearsall is a big part of it too. And I know that Debo's back, but Debo at this point of his career, I know he just had some decent showings last year, but I think there was more upside with Pearsall. That I just feel safe about Kittle if he's anything like the Kittle we knew.
Well, let me throw this to you, Ian. You drafted Jared Goff as a backup quarterback, and Jake and I kind of dismissed Terrence Ferguson. But I think I would rather take old Terrence, no Phillip, just Terrence, in that spot where you took Goff as a backup tight end, as a flyer type guy, than someone like Goff in that spot on your roster.
I hear you. I'm trying to see if he was even. Yeah, okay, he wasn't drafted. I could have done it.
Just like
Fair point.
instead of stashing that type of like, if I wasn't going to go with the Willis types or the Shuck types of like that higher end, like probably going to be terrible, but you can see the path for them to get there. If you see the path for Ferguson here, then why not draft him as the backup tight end that in theory could be the guy that replaces your like top end tight end. Like if you have like maybe a good match with Kittle potentially, but like if you have Bowers, you're never going to bench Bowers. Maybe it's a great trade bait later on in the season, right. But if you have the Fannons, the Warrens, the Isaiah Likeleys, like getting two and shooting for upside with both of them and one of them hitting could be like the skeleton key to your team.
I will say in Jake's wonky ass league, we don't have to start a tight end, which changed my decision making.
Yeah, but there were still what 16 or 17 tight ends that went. It doesn't.
Look how defensive.
I just because I even tweeted that out yesterday is proof that when you have wide receiver / tight end instead of tight end only, it only opens more things up for strategy. And we still had 16 or 17 tight ends go off in the entire draft.
I'll say this though, Jake. Isaiah Likely 10. If I miss out and I just don't want to spend an early pick and, the Fannons and guys go earlier before I'm ready, Likely's my target. I love that spot, Pat. Jake, if Terrence Ferguson, if the fantasy football genie came down and just told us right now that Ferguson is going to run a route on 75% of Stafford's dropbacks this year, we're ranking him right next to Likely, if not higher, man.
I would tell that genie he's full of shit. That's the problem.
Yeah, I would. I would have him ranked ahead of Isaiah Likely if I knew that was going to be the case. Ian.
Yeah, I don't think Colby Parkinson's going away. They inexplicably gave what's his face that is his body even work at this point.
Tyler Higbee.
Thank you. He gave him an extension on his contract and then drafted another tight. And I expect the rookie to do much, and Max Klein. But like the problem here is that like. They are going to 2-3 tight end primarily their entire season at this point. So it's the Dalton Kincaid argument. Like, is he even out there enough? I would love if you were right. If you said 75%, I'll come back at the end of the year and be like, man, you called that one spot on. I wish I was on that one. But I'd rather at this point for players that could do that, I'd rather take a chance on Dulcich, who could potentially be out there that much, and their number 2 or number 3 option. Even, yes, Malik Willis knows how to throw the football, people. And then what do we have going on in Pittsburgh? By the way, rookie with Aaron Rodgers, you might as well have written him off anyway as the third option. We already have Pittman banged up. Oh, Mike McCarthy and tight ends. I'm pretty sure he does that quite often throughout his career, and nothing has been any more positive than the Pat Freiermuth talk out of Pittsburgh right now.
Ugh. Yuck.
Again, 70% of the time, if he's out there on the field and not sharing like he was the past 2 seasons, we were just drafting Pat Freiermuth as a tight end 3 years ago because he was getting that use.
Well, I'm sorry if I want to win my 2023 fantasy league.
Jake, I was 23. I was laying that one up for you.
Listen, if you get the max upside for Freiermuth, it's like, oh my God, he went 4 for 41 today. What an amazing game.
I just feel like most of these guys are all ranked like they're going to have their role. Like we know what Hawkinson and Schultz are going to be, and we have them ranked, kind of borderline tight end 2s. The other guy I would add, it's Ferguson, it's Kincaid, and it's also Oronde Gadsden. Now, I am the least confident of Oronde Gadsden actually getting this sort of role, but as much as I believe in Charlie Kohler and people believe in Charlie Kohler, like Gadsden flashed a little bit. He is so cheap now, and just thinking about guys who they're as cheap as they are because we think here in early August that we know what their usage is going to look like. And if he just happens to play more than we expect on passing downs, man, he's going to be on the cover of Jake's Week 2 waiver wire article.
I may be nuts, but if I'm going to draft a Chargers tight end, I'm drafting Njoku, who might not be washed. He may have just played for Cleveland last year.
I'm just not drafting anybody outside of Lad McConkey.
Kohler, bro. He's the one.
Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris.
I will draft Quentin Johnston. I have no problem with that. I think he's a great fit for the McDaniel offense.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, when Quentin Johnston was drafted, a raw first-round wide receiver projected for year 2 or 3. It takes him 3 years to develop. He finally starts hitting. He learns how to use his hands. Everybody's like, nah, Quentin Johnston, whatever. He was exactly who we thought he was coming out of college. And now nobody wants anything to do with him. Finally, he's showing some upside. And in Mike McDaniel's offense, I brought up the other thing is because Trey Harris is getting the talk from last year and what he could be in the Mike McDaniel offense. And it feels like what we knew and we talked about on the other show is that Mike McDaniel plus Harbaugh probably equals already. You take them separately. They're both bottom 10 and actually McDaniel bottom 5 in plays per game because of how their offenses run. You put them together, you might have one of the slowest offenses we've seen in history. And even Herbert at his efficiency throws 500 times, 520 times. It's just not enough to get down to that third, fourth, fifth option where we're saying, oh yeah, I got to get them in my lineup.
I don't have Caleb Douglas ranked, but I feel like I should. If there is a Miami receiver I should take, it does feel like it should be Douglas. Where would you guys rank him?
I have him as a wide receiver 5/6, not even super high, as I just did a motion. If anybody's watching, like, thank you, because I've been saying this since the draft. They told us what they thought about Caleb Douglas. Nobody thought Caleb Douglas should have went that early in the draft. I don't know one person that had him ranked that high, and they took him in front of Chris Bell, who we know wasn't 100% healthy, but everybody had talent ahead of Caleb Douglas. But they took Caleb Douglas, and his competition is Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell. There's every opportunity for what?
What the hell? Jalen Tolbert, you ranked this dude
twice?
Where is he?
Did I rank him twice? So
you just ranked him wide receiver 58 ahead of Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, I do. One guy has a quarterback throwing him the ball who can like throw with a bit of arc on it. The other guy who throws it at people's feet.
Oh my God.
So you know what? In that Jalen Tolbert spot, that's where I'll plug in. I wanted to reserve a spot
Douglas
for a Dolphins receiver. I'll just change Jalen Tolbert to Caleb Douglas.
I will say
I was
this for the
surprised
argument
you
of
had Jalen Tolbert ranked, let alone 58.
Do you see, he's got Tutu Atwell arguably high.
I
will
like,
say this.
I think Tutu Atwell, the play with Tutu Atwell is just to bet him over longest reception in every single game. But if he is on the field, Malik Willis is going to throw him 3 deep shots a game.
If he's a starting top 2, like, obviously there's no question about that, because the big plays are just going to be there for him. But I was going to bring up last year. Remember the whole argument people always make, they have to throw to somebody. How did that work out for the Raiders last year? How does that work out for all these teams? Like, we were like, they have to throw to somebody. You know what? Sometimes they don't. They just throw to a bunch of mediocre players and nobody benefits.
Well, they did.
Good luck guessing the one game where Trey Tucker does good,
I have Trey Tucker at number 50. So that's bad.
I have Jalen Naylor higher. That's the one they signed.
Hardly knew her, Jake.
Question on tight ends.
Oh, yeah, let's have it, Jared.
Where do you have the other Ferguson? Where do you have Jake Ferguson?
Nowhere.
Really?
He's fine.
I
am at 122. I have him a spot behind Dalton Kincaid. Like, he's fine. Like, I don't like Kincaid like you guys like Kincaid. I think he's fine.
You finished at end 5 last year, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, that's great.
You know what Jake Ferguson is? The Jared Goff of tight ends.
Okay, so
like 19 fantasy points per game without CeeDee Lamb, and then he was under 10 with CeeDee Lamb. Also, some word out of training camp got my ear to the ground. Brevin Spanford could honestly be splitting things up a little bit more. The Cowboys got 3 white tight ends. They all have numbers in the 80s, so it's always very difficult to tell who's going to have it. So Ferguson is paid, but my God, he was inefficient last year, man. He's not someone I want to bet.
So Jared, let me throw this out to you. Now, if we go by fantasy points per game a year ago, who do you think the top 5 tight ends were?
Ooh, the big 3.
Yeah. So who are the big 3?
Bowers, McBride. I would say, did Warren end up as top 5?
He did, but Bowers was not there.
Oh.
Wait, are you talking about 2024?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
I mean, Bowers, Kittle, and Kraft are up there, but they played so few games.
Sure. Kittle? No. Kincaid? No. Jesus, I actually don't know.
If we just go by straight,
wait,
if we
what are you talking about, Pat?
Wait, I think was that the Jonnu year?
What
was that Jonnu Smith year?
No, I'm talking about last year. Bowers had 14.7 fantasy points per game last year. He just didn't play a bunch last year. Like, it's McBride.
What's your threshold? Like 17 games?
Yeah, it was like 10 games.
He played 12 games.
But kind of. I don't know if we count those games. There's a couple games where he was just kind of standing there, really injured.
Go ahead, Pat. Make your point.
I want to know where this is going.
All right, so let's say McBride and Bowers 1 and 2. Then you go down to like Fannin at like 11.7 to be 3rd, Kelsey 11.4 to be 4th. Like, and then you have Jake Ferguson at 11.1. Like, Goddard's a little bit up there as well. He was at 12, but like there's such a substantial drop off. My point was that it could be anyone being number 5th, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the consistency. Like, you have all the same players back. Like, he's going to be option number 3. I mean, unless what Ian's saying is true. He's the 3rd option. And in the red,
you
got
watch
a lot
out
of
for
touchdowns.
Schoonmaker, okay?
That's the
guy. I will say, I know you besmirched him earlier from your other show, but the Lemon injury, and I like Mekhi Lemon, but the Lemon injury has me a little bit more in on Goddard to start the season and then potentially find another solution down the road.
What do you guys do with Luther Burton? Because I have him remain unchanged. I think he's going to play week 1. I think he's going to be fine with this groin injury.
I tend to agree.
I had them almost back to back to start. I just flipped them, but that's only because they're almost back to back, and it just comes down to the risk of week 1.
I think he's a great buy right now because people are gonna be scared off.
Now he is.
That is a great situation. Listen, if it blows up in your face, that sucks. You lose. You know what? You might draft great guys, and you still might lose. You might as well just make this decision. I'm moving Malik Nabers up. The more I look at this fucking list, where should I move him to? I'm
going back to Malik Nabers.
I see him there at 38. It's like that's too low. I look at Devon Achane at 26. I'd rather have.
All right,
Malik.
let's play your game, Pat. Would you take Malik Nabers or Rashee Rice?
Oh, Nabers.
Okay. Would you?
Where do I have
Nabers
where do I have Rashee Rice ranked?
24th. I love it. Everyone's finally coming along to my Rice.
I have Rashee Rice at 51.
Just saying.
Oh, okay. Then Nabers or Olave?
I had Nabers above him already. You can see that on the screen.
I'm looking at the list over here. I'm looking at 2 different places. I tried to. You sent it a effing PDF, and I have to extract that thing out to try and find out where my rankings were so much different than yours.
That's what cloud's for, baby.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that's super technical. Okay, so who do you have? Where did you end up with DJ Moore? Oh, look, I'm now looking at the screen. I see it, 35. So Nabers or DJ Moore?
Nabers. I like to. I'm going to move DJ Moore up too. Let's move them up together. Do I like DJ Moore?
Explain why DJ Moore couldn't do anything with Ben Johnson and Caleb.
We already argued that show. Oh wait,
that show got lost. That was the best show we've ever done, and it got lost to time due to audio issues. But yeah,
I don't think I laughed so much on that show.
You know what? Fun. I've softened on Jalen Waddle a little bit. So here's what I'm gonna do.
Oh man, that show's gone. I think that's the hardest I've ever make you laugh, Pat. I know that show.
We had fights, we had laughs. It was glorious. No one will ever see it. I can't even go rewatch it because it has no sound. But so I'm going to slot these guys in. So I'm going to move Brock Bowers and Trey McBride up to 23 and 24. And then I'm going to put Nabers, DJ Moore, and Jalen Waddle directly in behind them at 25, 26, and 27.
So that was my next question. So Nabers over Waddle?
Yeah, Nabers, Moore, Waddle is where I'm going to go. The more I think we've hashed this out a bunch of times, and like good reports out of camp. So that means everything. Just the way is one of the reasons I don't like Kincaid as much, and I think I might actually bump Khalil Shakir up as well. I think that DJ Moore is just kind of the perfect type of quarterback, type of receiver for what Josh Allen wants to do, and I think it allows Khalil Shakir to actually be the receiver he is in a much more effective way than how he had to be used a year ago.
Well, that was the argument that we had on the show, is that DJ Moore essentially for the past 2 years has been big slot. There's not really the big slot Ben Johnson style, is that he's more the Amon-Ra St. Brown, the big guy outside. DJ Moore at this point was neither. He was miscast, and he actually spent more time in the slot down the stretch. And if you look at Joe Brady and Carmichael and what they do, this is a Sean Payton tree offense. What do they feature? They feature the big slot. Do I think he's going to get 160 targets like Stephon Diggs 3 years ago? Absolutely not.
More.
But if he gets 120, look, Khalil Shakir had 100. So he gets 120 in that role in this offense. He's a top 20 wide receiver. He finished wide receiver 15 with Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields throwing in the ball. You're telling me Josh Allen can't mix him into this system?
Jacob's 2023 stats.
Well, I mean, I was told from 2025 stats, Ian, I was told that Justin Fields by you was better than Josh Allen. So that's probably how it works out.
We're not even talking about quarterbacks now, and Justin Fields is still being thrown against me. You know what? I deserve it. So I just, again, Ben Johnson.
You know what? I think Ian needs to talk to his new boss. You need to talk to your new boss. You need to talk to Theo and somehow co-opt this. Co-opt this show into the RotoWire Sirius XM show. That's what it's already produced. They can just throw it out there for everybody because it'd be the best Sirius XM show they have.
There you go. Yeah, I'll give them the audio. They can bleep the swears if they want to.
Okay. DJ Moore, him just quitting on routes. That's something that is really going to be embraced in Buffalo. Like, what are we doing here? That's what they're saying.
Hey, they already have
that's Caleb Williams' superpower.
They already have route quitting experience. They had Diggs. They currently have Keon Coleman. He fits right in.
He's the first wide receiver ever to quit on routes and go to a different situation and not enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe he's Randy Moss. Have you considered that?
It's Antonio Brown attacking police on his front lawn.
Is that what he's doing these days?
Antonio Brown.
That was a
Famous
couple
Bill.
years ago, Pat.
No, I think someone like normal took over. Well, not normal, but I think someone took over his social media accounts to like make it Antonio Brown weird without any of like the legal potential that goes along with that.
You're right.
Emeka
Egbuka, wide receiver 25, Pat. I don't hate it. I've had him kind of at the bottom of that McConkey, Burden, Waddle, Flowers, who I know you don't like. We don't have to get into it right now. But I do think when you look at those guys, and you're like Waddle versus Sutton, okay, it's definitely Waddle. And then it's, McConkey versus QJ. Even if we like QJ, we'd be surprised if QJ is like beating him in targets. I think of all these guys that kind of have a 1A, 1B, Olave and Tyson and Egbuka and Godwin are the two where I'm like, man, we might be overestimating that gap.
Can I just throw out that I don't think Tampa's going to be very good? I think Tampa gets blown up at the end of the year.
I think their offense is going to be fine. I actually have Egbuka inside my top 20 wide receivers because I think we need to acknowledge he got hurt. Baker got hurt. The offensive line got hurt. Like everybody focuses on the 49ers.
He also got my feelings hurt last year.
Oh, that's definitely one that we have to consider, Pat, is that it really comes down to everything possibly went wrong in this offense last year for injuries the entire year. And then Egbuka and Baker are both playing through theirs. So I think Egbuka as the one with whether or not we believe Chris Godwin saying he feels better than he has in 3 years or whatever it might be. And last year he wasn't playing 100%. He's still on the wrong side of 30 at this point. I think he just turned 30 at the beginning of the season or beginning of the year in February, March, somewhere around there. But anyway, point being is like Godwin's not the threat that he was 2-3 years ago. To go back to 2023 once again, I think that Egbuka can be the number one and be a top 20 wide receiver with your point, Ian. Godwin's still being a wide receiver 3. Like he's not dead and gone, especially now that McMillan's hurt too.
I think Egbuka will lead the way. I also have him ranked top 20, but when Pat's saying, wide receiver 25, I get it. I get it more so than trying to do it with like a McConkey or someone like that.
I think that's the biggest thing though, is that it's that tier we've been talking about. Like we're talking about the Egbukas, the McConkeys, the Wilsons, the Waddles, like all that range. Like it's basically going to come down to picking your poison.
Yeah, who do you like a little bit better than someone else? Hey, they're in the same relative range within 10 picks. If you want to move them up, I wouldn't do it, but these are my rankings. You can move them up all you want. Take the guy if you want. But it's just, what is the upside with Egbuka here? Like if he had his best season this year, what would that stat line look like?
Top 100, 11, 50, and like 9 touchdowns. Full PPR
I think there's more
beast.
for that. I think there's more yards, and I wouldn't bump the touchdowns too much. I think he's going to be more in that kind of Godwin, Keenan Allen range where it's like 1,300 yards, but still only 7 to 8 touchdowns.
I think Keenan's a good comp, like prime Keenan. Yeah.
If people want the best info on this show, I'm going to give you the 3 guys that I just do not want to draft this year. Alec Pierce being one of them, Rashee Rice being number 2, and Achane being number 3. Those would be the 3 that I just want no part of.
Wait, you don't want Achane getting 40 touches and has to be carried off the field?
Yeah, you'll have a fun 2 weeks. This will be great. So those 3 guys are going to smash this year.
Last 10 years, there's never been a year where more than 2 running backs posted top 12 numbers per game and a bottom 10 scoring offense. Bijan Robinson, I think we could see the Falcons being bottom 10. I could see the Colts. Let's just keep Jonathan Taylor out of it. Ashton Jeanty, we wouldn't be shocked. Devon Achane, we would not be shocked. Breece Hall, we would not be shocked.
Jeremiah Love,
we would not be shocked. So out of those 5 guys, we should expect, based on history, a good 10-year sample, probably only going to get 2 of them to boom. We definitely believe in Bijan. Jeanty, Achane, Hall, and Jeremiah. It is tough because the guys we've seen do it, they all have caught a lot of passes, and these guys are good receivers. But, man, I'm with you on Achane, Pat. I'm not clicking him.
Just if it doesn't feel – maybe he ends up going somewhere midseason and absolutely tears it apart. But it's not even like the talent – the lack of talent that's there, and then bringing in Willis, who, listen, maybe he opens up run lanes, but it's not like he needed the run lanes to go through anyway. It's just, I think the offense is going to be a disaster, and I just want no part of it, especially where he's going. Now, if you gave him to me, I have him ranked at number 28. But yeah, if I can get him in the middle of the 3rd round, sure. I'm not. It's not where he's going.
I'm not as concerned, but because first of all, I was going to say, if you want to take it one step further and you talk about bottom 5 offenses, Ian, you can count maybe one every other year where it happens. Is there an RB1? Like that's how rare that is. So if you really think that these offenses are going to be bottom 5, it's almost like less than a 10% chance that they finish as an RB1. So all that being said, of all of those, I'm in agreement. I'm actually more concerned that I think that it seems to be for me than most on Jeanty. I think that we're lauding a little bit too much of all these things that are supposed to, the offensive line is supposed to be better, the quarterback play is supposed to be better, Kubiak's supposed to make everything better. I think we're doing a lot to get somebody that was just RB17 in fantasy points per game. The talent is not the question. Jeanty is an amazing talent, but we're going to push him all the way up to RB7, which would be a 6 point per game jump. And then we're like, it's just going to happen because everything's better than it was last year. I'm kind of not in on the Jeanty situation. I'm questionable about Love also with his timeshare as a rookie. But Achane, I'm not that concerned. I would, with you, Pat, I wouldn't say third. I'd be more comfortable in the second round. But I think he's the one that's going to be fine because Will is not as much as other quarterbacks, but he throws to running backs more than people believe he does. And the running, as we've seen from Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton and even Daniel Jones, if it's one running back alongside those quarterbacks, they're fine. The problem is when we get those split backfields, and I am not afraid of Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, and that's really what it comes down to.
It was more of a schematic thing for me, is that I think that Mike McDaniel propped him up a ton. Like, they made an offense conducive of him getting into space and being awesome. I'm not sure what this Miami offense is going to look like.
Yeah, but when the offensive coordinator comes in and says we're going to give him 40 touches a game, I'm pretty sure he's not going to go that far from what was working.
No, but I believe in what McDaniel does offensively to take the group that he has to elevate and boost that up above the talent level. There's certain coaches that are just able to do that. I think on the offensive side of the ball, he is able to do that. I'm dubious about the new regime.
That's fair. But here's the thing, 18 points per game last year. Actually, in PPR, it's even better than that. It was full point PPR.
These
20.2? No. I'm saying either, but I'm saying, so we take off, let's be aggressive. 3 fantasy points per game? Sure. That's pretty damn aggressive. That still puts him at RB9 in both formats.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong on him. I don't want him.
I've been
not going to be on
coming around to a little bit. Travis Achane. Round 5, Travis Achane. Okay.
Achane on this show. Ian, get it right.
Achane. You have to really pronounce the French in there.
Round 5, Travis Achane.
Yeah.
I think Kamara's just going to be an annoying thorn in his side. Not that he
That's
should
why I didn't
be.
like him in round 3, but round 5.
Round 5.
How about
this? To go back, we skipped past it real quick, Pat, is that I'm hoping that the Burden injury discounts him to where he should have been going because people were starting to buy him in the 3rd round. And then there's he has to be everything we possibly could. He has to be a wide receiver 1, essentially, to go in the 3rd round. And yes, he is, but you're buying all of the risk of it potentially being somewhat of a timeshare as the number 2 option behind Loveland with the Doomsday. So I just want to throw that out. I'm happy that this is happening to discount his price to where it should have been.
I am at the 3-4 turn. That's where I had him to begin with. Yeah. Even after the injury, that's still where I have him. Did you see that Schefter said that Jacobs could still be suspended this year? Do you guys believe that? Josh Jacobs?
And Nakua.
But Nakua has
one game.
Nakua has a good PR team now, though, so he's fine.
He doesn't say stupid stuff on podcast anymore.
He doesn't. He cleaned it up.
My thing with Jacobs, I would have him probably just ahead of Javonte Williams if it goes south because, we just know he's going to score touchdowns. I just look at him pretty similarly, Jacobs probably feel better about the receiving stuff, but Matt LaFleur, until these last 2 years, has always split it up, man. This dude gave Derrick Henry and freaking Deion Lewis even touches back in the Titans days. And then it was Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. And then it was Aaron Jones and then also A.J. Dillon, both getting 200-plus touches. But maybe Marshawn Lloyd will be hurt by the time we finish this show. I get it. But he's healthy right now. I just wouldn't be. It's similar to Dallas where, people that think that Jaden Blue could somehow be an issue for Javonte, I think Marshawn Lloyd is just as live to do that to Josh Jacobs. So I don't think it's enough of a discount with Jacobs right now for me to be going on my way for him.
Well, I was going to say, but on the good side of it is that he seems to favor one specific running back when they get inside the 5. And that was Jacobs even last year. And that's the thing. And I know that he doesn't have the Marshawn Lloyd concern this year, but those touchdowns is what kept Jacobs as RB7 in fantasy points per game, as bad as last year was. So if he's only getting 65% of the workload instead of 75%, I still think he's the goal line option. So I'm okay with it. My biggest concern is the suspension aside, obviously that throws a huge wrench into what might happen, is that he's still not on the field and they said a week away. It's more the injury that's starting to worry me when it comes to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, it's a groin injury for him right now. We have time for one more question. And it's the most essential question of the fantasy football draft season. Who should you draft higher, Cooper Kupp or Darius Slayton?
This year,
I would have thought Parker Washington. Yeah, Cup.
This year it's
Give me
Cooper Kupp. I don't even know if Darius Slayton's going to be the 4 at this point.
Trade Darius Slayton to the Colts or something. My God. Chiefs. Sure.
He fits in on the Jets. You can have Garrett Wilson and a bunch of guys who can't catch. You wouldn't even have to move.
Yeah, the 80 Mitchell hype is something.
I'm surprised we haven't fallen into like the Darius Slayton Cooper Kupp argument this year of like 2 irrelevant wide receivers that we argue about.
Jake, we got 20 weeks left to do this, okay?
Oh, I will say I'm kind of upset. Ian, did you not see my Jalen Coker tweet? Because I threw your boy under the bus in that one with Jerry Judy.
Yeah, Judy.
Did you
hurts,
not?
man.
No,
God,
so the tweet was this, Pat. So because we project usage, and the whole point about this was talking up Jalen Coker. The last 5 seasons, wide receivers with 500 routes run and 100 targets. I mean, it probably could have just picked 100 targets, but point being, average 193 fantasy points per game, 11.7. If you take the
193 fantasy points per game, that's good.
fantasy points, 11.7 fantasy points per game. I took the median because obviously that's skewed by the amazing Cooper Kupp season and all that type of stuff. The median is still 181.4. That is top 25 any season you want to pick. The funny thing about it, though, to throw Judy under the bus, when you include anybody that wasn't inside the top 50, there's 3 names. Elijah Moore, Jerry Judy, Elijah Moore. So it's technically 2 names. And Judy's the only one who also had a 20% team target share and couldn't finish top 40.
Now, was Elijah Moore
Moore
the first to accomplish that on 2 separate teams, both with the Jets and Browns? Or were those both Jets years?
23-24, I think that was actually, no, one of them was Browns years, wasn't it? Actually, were they both Browns years?
Good for him. What a legend. I almost kept Elijah Moore in a keeper league one year after his like very strong finish with the Jets that one year. It was like this guy's
floor Jets.
Where is he now? I thought he's hanging around some team.
He was on the Bills. Really? He was on the Bills last year, wasn't he?
Speaking of teams that could be bad,
right. Yeah.
Every day I see another Dontavian Wicks is going to be a big part of this Eagles offense post. I start to wonder, maybe losing that A.J. Brown guy isn't going to help this offense. I don't know.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, Elijah Moore, Philadelphia. Why do they even need A.J. Brown? They have Elijah Moore. That's the better question to ask here. All right, fellas. Thank you for going through my rankings. I even might make a tweak or 2 before I post it. But hey, when you're watching this show, the rankings will be finalized, and then I'll update them with news come. So we'll get together. We'll talk about rankings adjustments and all the latest news as we get into the final 3-week stretch now, before you draft your fantasy football teams. I hope this helped. I hope everything helps. You need more help. Sub to Mayo Media Network. All of the previous shows are down in the show notes, as are the links to Ian's rankings, the links to Jake rankings, and all of their work both over at RotoWire and theathletic.com. Smash like while you're here too. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience!